Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I wanted to give a quick intro on this video because we are doing a two-part video today. So the first video itself is going to be of a guided tour on the Battleship Wisconsin out of Norfolk, Virginia. Our second video is our self-guided tour of the same battleship as well as the Nauticus Museum where the battleship is located, again, Norfolk, Virginia. I'm really excited about this video because we actually opted for a top of the world tour, it's called. It is a majority outside video, and when we went, it was raining. So this video kind of gives you an idea of what they would do in that situation. It wasn't just a little sprinkling, it was a lot of rain. We were very fortunate because it ended up clearing up later in the day. But this will give you an idea of whether or not you should take this tour, if it's worth the money, and the time, because the tour itself did take about an hour and a half from the time we checked in until it was completed. And it was a fantastic tour. The entire trip itself was awesome, and I can't wait to get your guys' opinions on what we saw. Definitely give us a like and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the second video. Let me know what you think in the comments when the video is over. Can't wait to hear from you. This is really cool.
This is the museum area. This is like a museum. This is a wall.
We're going on the captain's cabin. Watch your step.
This is known as the captain's in-port cabin. This is one of 3 bedrooms that the captain has. We'll actually see 2 of them. I'll show you 2 of them today. Nice bedroom. This is he would only sleep. This is called his in-port cabin. He would only sleep here when the ship is in port because the wall behind these lockers, that bulkhead right there behind you, that's the lower barbette for a 5-inch gun turret. Oh, so there's a 5-inch gun turret right there. This is an ammunition handling chute. This is the ammunition going up to one of the other turrets. It's very loud. It's a big chain fall going through here. So it'll be loud in here to begin with. So he's not going to sleep in here when the ship's in port. But tell you something, how you know you are somebody in the Navy. How you know you are somebody in the Navy. If you ever go on board a Navy ship and you have a private bathroom, that's how you know you are somebody. Doing some school and tell you a little history right here.
Yeah.
I tell you a little history about World War II a little bit and our sister ship, the Iowa. There's 4 of these ships built, the Iowa, the New Jersey, the Missouri, the Wisconsin. They're the last one. Please do not hit your head on this because if you do, this does not give. That's 2 inches of armor. It doesn't give, trust me.
Wow. Okay.
Listen,
Ready?
you heard him. Call one at a time, okay? I'm gonna lift you up.
Watch your step, yeah. I'm totally not tall enough for that.
Do me a favor, come on over here. I need you to jump up here.
Oh man.
You get to go in the big seat right here. Oh no, trust me, it's not as great as it seems.
Call, sit down.
Okay, folks, welcome. This is one of the coolest things on board the ship, in my personal opinion. This is from World War II. We were using it in the Persian Gulf. There's actually 6 of these on board the ship. This is known as a dead reckoning plot table. This is how we navigated during World War II. Inside here is a light right here on a bar. It's called a bug. This would be skewed, starts over here on the side of the table. And on this side of the table is an analog computer. The ship's course and speed information is inputted into here, and then you adjust this computer to a map scale, like 1 inch equals 1 mile. Wow. So then you can put either a map like we have over there, or a piece of tracing paper on the top of this thing, and as the ship moves through the water, its course and speed, that light will move in conjunction with that. So you know exactly where the ship is, next to a coastline, what have you. And if I know where my ship is right here, I got to target a shore like in Okinawa right here, I need to bomb, use a calibrated ruler, I know the exact distance so I can shoot my guns at it.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was used for navigation, and Gulf War we were using this to plot, where the ship is. If I was shooting against shore targets or something like that, I could tell exactly their distance from me using
That
it.
is so cool.
Yeah, it's from World War II, which is really cool. Sitting over here, this spot where these empty places are, this was our air search and surface search radar. Now, Unfortunately, when the ship was modernized in 1988, they wanted to add the newest radar systems to the ship. Newest radar that we have on board ships and in aircraft, by the way, do not use rotating radar dishes. They're flat panels. And then behind those are open-ended waveguides, and we use electronic beam switching. So instead of rotating a dish, we just rotate the electronic beam. Much more accurate. The problem with the ship is you fire one of our 16-inch guns, and the ship gets enveloped into a high-pressure bubble, envelops the ship after firing the guns, which back feeds into those antennas and blows them apart. So we had to use the older dishes, like you see the SPS 49 that's spinning up there right now. Those are older style, which has a limited range. So to increase our range, what we did is we added a system called NTDS, or Naval Tactical Data System. That's when you walk on the ship up on the anchor chains. You see there's that big antenna up there on the top of the anchor chains. Looks like a big Christmas tree. That's what that is. That's our Naval Tactical Data System. That's a receive antenna where the telemetry, radar imagery, things of that nature from airborne assets like Navy E-2 Hawkeyes, Air Force AWACS, other ships, that telemetry is sent to us through that, and we can display it on our radars. That way we can increase our range that way.
That's so cool.
Sitting over here, we also here and in this spot over here had a really cool system over here known as the SLQ-32. We refer to it as the Slick 32. It's on every naval ship. We even have it on the air. We even give it some for the Coast Guard. Slick 32, the best way to describe it, it's a radar detector for a ship. There's two big dishes on the sides. They're detecting radar, just like a police radar in your car. You know, looking for radar. It's the same thing. And just to let you know, also, if you're not, since most of you are from out of town, police radars are radar scanners are illegal in the state of Virginia, by the way. And the Virginia State Police have radar detectors, which if you have it, yes. So if you have one plugged in, even if you take it down off your dash, they can tell that you have it, and that's reasonable. That's cause for them to pull you over, and they will search your vehicle. And when they find it, they will confiscate it. It's a $450 fine. Oh, how I know that? That's a whole nother story. So the Slick 32, we got these two antennas on the side of the ship. So let's say a Chinese Silkworm anti-ship missile is coming at us. The Chinese Silkworm is an anti-ship missile that both the Iranians and the Iraqis both own them, by the way. So if one of them is coming in, as soon as the radar in the nose of the Silkworm sweeps the ship, the Slick 32 picks it up, tells them, hey, Silkworm inbound, starboard side, what do you want to do? And then we figure out how we're going to engage it. And then it could also jam the missile so it flies harmlessly off. But it gives us a heads up to let us know what's coming at us. Any radar that hits it from a ship, an airplane, it hits it, it'll decipher it, and they tell everybody in here, hey, I got a MiG-29 over here. I got, it'll tell you exactly what's coming at you. Really cool system. Yeah, so it's gone. Over here, which is really cool, we talked them into letting us keep these, because if you notice, these monitors are black and white. Today we use stuff called color. This is our Tomahawk control center right here. This is where we controlled all of the Tomahawk missiles. We're sitting over here. Control panel here, targeting computers over here. Now, something I'd like to show you that's really cool. First, the disclaimer. If you ask anybody in the military, first off, if there's nuclear weapons on their ship, the Navy, they'll tell you, I can neither confirm nor deny the presence of nuclear weapons on board any naval vessel. Well, I'm retired and this ship is owned by the city of Norfolk. So, show you something now. Persian Gulf War, 1991. We carried 32 Tomahawks. We fired 28. 4 of them we didn't fire and we brought them home. The reason being is they were new. And I'll tell you why, is because if you remember, the second Gulf War was all about Saddam Hussein might have weapons of mass destruction, which he ended up not having. So in the first Gulf War, we thought he might have weapons of mass destruction. So if he did, guess what? So did we. If he'd used any weapon of mass destruction against us during the Gulf War, trust me, us, the Air Force, yeah, we would have just nuked Baghdad. We would have wiped it off the face of the planet. And I'll show you something. Come over here. I'll show you something interesting. Notice when you shoot a nuclear weapon, you have to have two-person integrity. After you verify the codes and all that, then you have to have normally 2 sets of keys to turn, right? It's actually 4 keys. Each person gets 2 keys. Here you go. Here's your nuclear permission to fire. Fire, inhibit, enable right here. And then over here, each one of these targeting computers has the same set of keys. So you'd have the captain and the guy I'm going to tell you about in a minute. First key, 1, 2, 3, turn. Second key, 1, 2, 3, turn. All 4 keys are turned. Complete the circuit. Push the button, you launch a nuclear missile.
Wow.
Sitting in this area we had right here was we carried Harpoon anti-ship missiles. We had 16 Harpoon missiles on board the ship. So the fire control systems for them were sitting here. We also carry a system on board called CWIS, a closed-in weapon system. It's an automatic 20-millimeter Gatling gun. It's fully automated. It has a range of 2 miles. There's 4 of them on the ship. The guns fire 4,500 bullets per minute, which is 75 bullets per second. They're used to shoot down incoming missiles. They have a range of 2 miles. Control panel for it was sitting right here. And lastly, over here, we have these black and white TVs. They're up there because about 12:30 you can come down here and watch Daisy Live. No, we flew a drone on board the ship. The natural horizon at sea level, by the way, is only 10 miles. Our 16-inch guns have a range of 26 miles, so we are firing over the horizon. So to find targets and to confirm hits, in World War II, we had Kingfisher float planes on the ship that would launch and fly into enemy territory, spot targets, and then spot our rounds to see if we have to adjust. Now, everything in this room is here for one reason and one reason only: to feed information to this officer sitting in this chair right here. The officer sitting in this chair is known as the TAO, or the Tactical Action Officer. The second most important person on this ship, in my personal opinion. The captain, of course, is the most important person. The TAO is the only other person on this ship that has weapons release authority and maneuvering authority. What that means is, to use a weapon on this ship, fire a missile, shoot a gun, the captain has to approve it. The TAO can shoot any weapon on this ship; he has approval. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to ask. He will always ask if time permits. If time does not permit, he can use any weapon. He has authority to use any weapon on this ship.
Oh man.
Also, he has what's called maneuvering authority. What that is, he can call the bridge and get them to turn the ship any which way he wants at any time. That would be useful, especially if I'm sailing along and there's a missile coming at me, but because of where it's at, the weapons I have can't engage it. I might have to turn the ship so that I can engage it with a weapon. So he can call the bridge, and I tell you right now, I was an officer on deck. I used to drive the aircraft carrier here in Roosevelt. I was the officer in charge of driving it. If the TAO called me and told me to turn the ship, even if I was in the middle of flight operations and I had a plane getting ready to land on the back of the ship, I would turn the ship.
Wow.
Pilot be damned.
Right.
Seriously, I'd let the pilot crash and die before I disobeyed the TAO.
Wow.
Any questions about this?
Talk about
Okay,
stress.
tell you I've got
Yeah, I know, right?
got a quick 4-minute little audio presentations for you in here. Show you some of the stuff that happened during the Gulf War. When somebody in the room talks, a light will flash on their position, and when the commanding officer talks, the captain, that red light will go.
Hey, sit down.
Now, talk about it when we get done.
Target acquired. Target is control tower in enemy harbor, range 75 miles. Target identified as hostile.
Plot, estimate time on target for Tomahawk missile.
Time on target, 6 minutes. We have a solution loaded to missile 1.
T8 on a bridge. Captain, Tomahawk tasking received. Target is control tower in enemy harbor at 75 miles. Solution plotted and coordinates loaded. Request permission to fire Tomahawk missile.
TAO, this is the captain. Ready, Tomahawk battery to fire. Tomahawk missiles free.
Standby launcher 1. Alert crews on decks to stay clear. Execute plan 1-0.
Stand clear. Stand clear. Tomahawk battery firing Tomahawk missile.
ABL-1 is elevated. Recommend vent closure. Aft doors open. Booster armed. Stand by.
Missile control, commence firing. Fire missile 1.
Execute plan 1-0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Launch. Missile away. Missile in flight. Range 5 miles. Missile impact. Visual confirmation. Target destroyed.
TAO to bridge. Captain, we have visual confirmation. Target destroyed.
TAO, we have high-speed contacts on horizon to port.
Service control identified target.
We have multiple skunks.
Targets acquired. Firing solution obtained.
TAO to bridge. Captain, we have multiple skunks coming out of the marina. Small enemy combatants bearing 275, range 15 miles. Designated skunks Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. Targets identified as hostile. Firing solution obtained. Request permission to engage with guns.
TAO captain. Surface action port guns free. Commence fire.
Gunnery, surface action port.
Surface action port. All hands stand clear of the main deck while firing guns. Stand clear.
Gunnery, commence firing.
Main battery, turrets 1 and 2. Take 4 targets. Bearing 275. Range 15 miles. 12 rounds. AG. Commence firing. TAO gunnery. 12 rounds. High explosives expended. Bores clear. No casualties.
Air control, damage report from drone.
Skunk Alpha direct hit. Smoke and fire. Enemy combatant breaking apart. Sinking battle. Skunks Bravo and Charlie direct hit. Destroyed. Skunk Delta reversing course and departing at high speed, returning to port. TAO, we have enemy combatants in the marina, surrendering to the drone.
TAO to bridge. Captain, 3 targets destroyed, 1 target reversing course. And we have enemy combatants surrendering to the drone, sir.
This is the captain. Well done to the entire crew for an outstanding combat mission success. We destroyed an important land target and destroyed or routed 4 enemy combatants due to outstanding teamwork and great shooting. For the first time in known history, the enemy has surrendered to an unmanned aircraft. Bravo, Zulu. Well done. Now, secure from general quarters, set condition 3, on deck watch section 1.
But this structure I'd like to show you right here. This is something very unique to a World War II battleship. There's 2 sailors in here at all times, the helmsman with the steering wheel, the helmsman with the throttles. Today what we're going to do, since we're a small group, I'm actually going to bring everything. We'll actually go inside and I'll show you how this operates. This right here is 17.5 inches of solid armor and a 4.5 inch armored backing plate of what we call STS steel, Super Treated Steel, which is Class B armor. So you get 21 inches of armor right here. This door weighs 30,000 pounds. That's why there's a hydraulic motor to close it, help close it. This is constructed right here that a 2,700 pound armor piercing projectile from our 16-inch guns will not penetrate this. This is one reason why the ship weighs 53,000 tons. Because of stuff like this on the ship. So helmsman and lead helmsman are in here. When the ship goes to general quarters or battle stations, the whole bridge crew, about 14 of us, file in, we shut and lock the doors.
Wow.
And the reason you have stuff like this, this was something very unique, especially to U.S. ships, is in World War II, one of the prime targets on any ship would be the bridge. You always want to shoot at the bridge because you want to take out the captain and the command structure of the ship, you know, basically by cutting off the head of the spider, basically, or the head of the snake. That's how a lot of, how we defeated a lot of Japanese battleships and stuff, was the captain and the admiral were taken out on the bridge. So that's why we had these. So like in Okinawa, the battle for Okinawa, when the Wisconsin was there, she actually shot down 4 kamikazes and we had assists on 6 others. Wow. The kamikazes were trained, well, the little training they had was they were going after an aircraft carrier, they went after the flight deck, but if they were heading at a small ship, a destroyer or a battleship, you go for the bridge. So if you, as long as you were in here, a kamikaze could hit the front of this ship and wipe the bridge right off, this whole bridge area right off the front of the ship. As long as you're in here, you should still be alive. If you don't like the one a little bit, then you should be alive.
Wow.
So we're going to take a step in here. Please be careful of stepping over the armor, it's a little awkward. And again, please do not hit your head. No, it is hooked up to the rudders.
Yeah, so definitely
So what
don't
we have
turn
here,
it.
you have 2 sailors in here. You got a helmsman and a lee helmsman.
Don't turn it.
He's doing the steering the ship, he's doing the throttles. How this works, the helmsman driving the ship, if you notice there's no big windows for him to see out of. That's because on any ship at sea, military or a commercial vessel, the helmsman or the quartermaster that's driving the ship does not drive the ship by looking out the windows. In the Navy, an officer like myself, the officer of the deck, or on a civilian ship, the third mate, we're going to be giving steering commands to the helmsman. So like, for instance, if I'm turning the ship, I'm going to tell him how much rudder to use, my rudder angle, because the amount of rudder I use, depending on the speed of my ship, will determine the heel of my ship and also my turning radius. And then I'll give him a course to steer. For instance, I might tell him, come right 3-degree rudder, steering the course 280 degrees. So he'd use 3-degree right rudder, bring me to 280, then he'd hold me on a compass course of 280 until I give my next steering command.
Wow.
That's how you drive a ship. That's how all ships are driven out at sea, even civilian ships.
Wow.
And over here, this is pretty cool. This is how I control the throttles or the speed of the ship. Unfortunately, we're an old ship. Nothing on this thing is automatic. So everything's manual. So I'm actually using the old engine order telegraph. All engines had 1/3, 2/3 standard, full and flank, and I'm using this to talk to another sailor. To make this make sense, I gotta give you a quick lesson on how the propulsion on this ship works. Okay, we are a steamship. We use steam to go through the water. There's 4 shafts or 4 propellers on the back of the ship. Each propeller has 2 boilers attached to it. The boilers heat up water to a steam that's 850 degrees Fahrenheit, pressurized at 600 psi. That's real hot, high pressure, very dangerous stuff. A steam leak down there will just melt the skin right off your body. That high pressure, high temperature steam is then injected into 2 turbines, a high pressure and a low pressure turbine. These look a lot like the inside of a jet engine, a lot of little fan blades in there. And when the steam is injected, it's going to depressurize and start cooling, which will cause it to expand. It'll actually expand up to 40,000 times its current volume. So that expansion energy is used to spin the turbines. Wow. The turbines spin at over 1,000 RPM, which is too fast for our use, so we couple that output to a what we'll call reduction gear, which is like a transmission that scales that down. This is the ship's navigator's office. This is where the ship's navigator would be, and this is where we have all the charts. And this is where, as the officer deck, I'd be running back and forth over here with the, plot where we're at, make sure I don't run the ship aground or hit anything. Now, one thing, of course, today modern navies, we use satellites for navigation, etc. Well, we haven't always used satellites. We used to use celestial navigation, the stars. Back in the day, here's an original sextant right here. This is what they look like today.
Wow.
Yeah, you definitely see the difference in technology on us, how these things operate now. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about this celestial navigation. Celestial navigation is actually taught at the Naval Academy, but back in the mid-1990s, an admiral decided, we should stop teaching it. So now, when you're up here on watch for 4 hours as the officer deck, you will make 3 or 4 celestial fixes, and then compare it against the electronic fixes. And if there's an error, you got to figure out why. They better match exactly. It's pretty tricky. Just the math is a pain in the butt, but the actual making the celestial hits is actually fairly easy. We only use 59 stars in the sky. There are 59 of the stars we use, and the sun and the moon are what we use. After that, the rest of the stars, they just look pretty.
What would cause a number to be off compared to like the satellites?
Error codes.
Okay.
When you're making celestial navigation, how it works is if you can imagine a star, then imagine a string tied to that star that goes down and it's tied to the center of the Earth.
Okay.
Well, the Earth is spinning, so that spot on the Earth where that string goes through the Earth is constantly moving across the face of the Earth. And it's a perfect right angle. So when you're doing a celestial fix, I'm here and I'm trying to find that the hypotenuse right there.
Right.
It's pure trig, and you actually have to do 3 stars because I do this one, and I can get my base leg from that location out. I draw that base leg, I do this star, I get that base leg, I do this star, I do this base leg with a 3 cross. That's where I'm at.
Right.
But where that point is on the Earth is what's critical, and you have to know the exact time. If you're off by 1 minute. 1 minute will give you a 10-mile discrepancy.
Wow.
Yeah, so timing is accurate. Also, error codes. That's assuming you're standing on the Earth. You're flat on the Earth because the horizon is 10 miles. I'm up here on the bridge. What's my altitude above the water? How tall am I? The floor I'm standing on might be 40 feet up, but then I'm actually holding it here, so I'm at 45 and a half feet.
Wow.
Yeah, those are all error codes that have to be incorporated into it.
Wow.
Yeah, as you got to be.
I hate a trick.
And of course, being the Navy, even though there's apps on your phone that will do this, you have to do it by longhand math. It has to be longhand.
Wow.
Yeah. This is one of the captain's 2 at-sea cabins. This is where he would sleep when the ship is out at sea. 4 more stories above us, we have another bridge called the Battle Bridge. So there's another one of these at-sea cabins there. It's called his at-sea cabin. It's the captain's cabin, so there is a full bathroom. There's a shower on the left, commode on the right, telephone on the wall. And if you guys wouldn't mind getting off that couch for just a quick second, just stand up for a second. Because this couch, when the captain comes in here, that turns into his bed.
Wow. Isn't that cool?
And the reason he's here, the reason the captain has these at-sea cabins is that's actually international maritime law. International maritime law states any ship at sea, military or civilian, the captain must sleep at or on the bridge at nighttime. That's because, let's say you're up here on the mid-watch. Mid-watch is midnight to 4. Nothing good happens on the mid-watch. 2 o'clock in the morning, I almost ran over a 30-foot wooden fishing dhow in the Persian Gulf with my aircraft carrier.
Wow.
Yeah, I came within about 40 feet of running him over after doing some very evasive maneuvering, which caused me to crunch an airplane and broke free in the hangar bay. Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
But I didn't run over the boat. that was yeah. The next 2 days were really rough. So let's say 2 o'clock in the morning something happens like that. The captain's import cabinet is 3 stories below us. Do you need to run downstairs 3 stories, get him and drag him? No, he's right here. You can step on the bridge. That's why if you ever go on a commercial vessel like a tanker or a cargo ship, the master, his cabin is always right there off the bridge. If you ever go on a cruise ship and you're fortunate enough to be invited up to the bridge of the cruise ship, the captain of the cruise ship, his stateroom is right there on the bridge. As I said, that's maritime law. Every show you this. I don't know if you noticed, every single space we walked into, every one of these yellow squares, that's required. This is known as a bullseye. The only difference between a bullseye on this ship and a modern ship, today we paint them in photoluminescent paint. If you can read this top line, 187 Tech 0 Tech Lima, this will tell you in 3 dimensions where you are on board the ship. Yeah. First digit right here always tells you what deck you're on. Decks on Navy ships go the entire length and width of the ship. So this is the main deck you walked on, we're deck 1. They're then labeled the opposite of the building. The deck below us is 2. Then 3, 4, we go down, we go all the way down to 9. When you go above here, in the superstructure where we just were, now you're on platforms, because they don't go the whole length and width of the ship. I got this big gun turrets in place. They were preceded by the letter O. You might have seen it, there was an O right there. Think of that as over. So the deck right above us, that's 01. We're over this deck by 1. Then 02, 03, we're on the 04 level on the bridge.
Oh,
we go all the way
that's so
to 12.
cool.
So we're a 21-story building. Next digit, the 87, that tells you where you are from the front to the back of the ship. And how that works, that tells me that forward bulkhead, the forward wall where those 2 doors are, that's frame 87. What frames are, is a Navy ship is built a lot like the human body. You have a spine and a rib cage. We have a keel and frames. Frames are longitudinal. They're these I-beams like this. Every 4 feet is another frame. They go port to starboard, and that's what provides the rigidity to keep the hull together. That's what keeps the hull rigid. You're 4 feet apart. There's 218 frames on this ship, so frame 109 will be the middle of the ship. That tells me that forward bulkhead up there is frame 87, so I'm close to the middle, but I'm just forward in the middle of the ship right now. That's what that tells me. This digit right here, this number right here, this number will tell you, this last digit right here, this tells you what side of the ship you're on, the left side or the right side of the ship, and how close you are to the middle of the ship or the outside edge of the ship. How it does that is, if it's a 0, that means the space you're in, like this one, we're right over the keel, right over the middle of the ship.
Wow.
When we were in that little passageway just outside CEC, that was a 0 also, we were dead center of the ship.
Wow.
Then, as you start going to the left and port are the same thing. They both have 4 letters, which is an even number, so we use even numbers. So the first space to the left of this space would be a 2. Then a 4, 6, 8 till you get to the outside edge of the ship. 5 numbers on the right, 1, 3, 5, 7. So you know if you're in a space that has a 6 right here, you know there's a 4, a 2, then a 0. So the space I'm in is probably on the outside edge of the ship by the nose.
That's so cool.
Last digit right here. Last digit is always a letter, and that tells you what the purpose of the space is. L stands for a living space. This is the officer's wardroom where the officers would eat. I'm not sleeping in here, but it's just a joke. It's not a machinery space or anything like that. Where this comes into play is, let's say we're out at sea and there's a fire in here. I'm going to call down to Damage Control Central and say, I've got fire, 187 Tech 0 Tech Lima. They're going to come across the ship's 1MC, which is the announcing system on the ship. They're going to say, fire, 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 187 Tech 0 Tech Lima. Away the flying squad away. Flying squad are sailors that are first responders. They can be cooks, engineers, supply guys, those in space, working up on the chains, ping the ship, doesn't matter. They'll just drop what they're doing and they'll run to this location. On the way here, they stop at a repair locker. You can see one down that passageway, all the way down that passageway and around to the left, you can see a repair locker. Those are like miniature fire stations. Those are spaces that we man up during general quarters. Everything we need to fight damage on a ship is in one. We've got firefighting suits, oxygen tanks, axes, welders, pipe patching, plugging, bracing, anything you need to fight damage on a ship is a repair locker. So they're going to stop there on the way here, the closest one to the space. Right here in L Lima, when there's a fire in here, it means it's either a Class Alpha fire, which means a water hose, pulling it out, or Class Charlie fire, a couple of CO2 fire extinguishers and it's out. So that gives them a heads up. If I said like V Victor, that means it's a void, which means there's no oxygen, so we'll be putting on the Scott Air packs. If I said M, it's a weapons magazine, they get real nervous. There's a whole bunch of them I can't remember, but that's what that's for. Next line, 87 to 95, that tells me that wall with the doors over there is showing 87. This wall right here is showing 95. So if you subtract these two numbers, multiply that by 4, you get the exact width of this space because the frames are broken apart.
Wow.
Then the last thing down here, S5, that's who owns the space. Let's say the ship's executive officer walks in here and he says, this floor needs to be swept and mopped, light bulbs needs to be changed. Who does he call and yell at? Supply Department 5th Division, S5 officer. So this is who owns the space, how big it is, and that's your three digit X, Y, and Z coordinate tell you exactly where you are operation.
Because we had purchased the Top of the World tour, which was all outdoors, and it was raining that day, we ended up with this tour instead. We thought it was completely worth it and completely worth the extra money. This was a fantastic tour we would highly, highly recommend. If you loved this with us, go ahead and give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the second of this 2-part video. And definitely leave us your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.